All right, hello. So, welcome to week 6. So, okay, week 4 quiz. So, I went through all of them, everybody's last night. And if you needed points added, points were added. If you feel you didn't get enough points added, please reach out to me. But I did notice when answers, so many of the times those fill in the blanks, which I know they're a pain, I need to taper those. But when you reach the fill in the blanks, if you will find that statement in our textbook, often if you put it in exactly the way it is in the textbook or the order that it is, for example, homesteading in the quiz 4, one of the the required components was occupy. The word occupy is listed. And if you would go in the order these words come up, it may not be the exact sentence, but it's the order they appear in the reading. You might have a better response, because that's what I noticed. Like productive or different things, consumerism, different things. You had the right words. They just weren't in the same order they came in the text. And those students who closely read and follow the order of the text, their scores did not have to be corrected. But I do understand. Short answer, I know it sucks. Going through the text, I know. Not ideal, but definitely be reading it. But I know that's hard. I know it can be a struggle. But that's just a little tip if you don't want that initial panic. But always know, if I've hit you with short answers like that, fill in the blanks, I'm always going to go back through. If you have something even remotely resembling, I'm going to give you credit. Absolutely. Because I know that's not for everybody's learning style. It's not everybody's comfort zone. I'm not that kind of teacher. I'm not here to get you. I just want you to learn the material. So that's why I will always go back through. And sometimes some of those I could, like, what are the requirements for homesteading? I could put those in nice little multiple choice questions. The reason I don't is because I want you to understand there were steps. We have all over, well, not all over, and less all the time. But here where I live, it's a very remote area. Many of the parcels of land were homesteaded. And so sometimes there are those old cabins. There are those old homesteads. There's old wells, old windmills. And it's because there was a requirement to occupy. And I want you to understand those requirements. It wasn't just, hey, I'd like this piece of land. You had to make it productive. You had to occupy it. You had to exercise dominion over it. And I want you to understand, I think those are interesting components of history, but also who's to say that doesn't come around again sometime? It's really good to know how things were done, because many of you, someday you might be lawmakers, someday you might be city council people, you might be Congress people, who knows what you're going to do in your life. All of you can go and do great things. The more you understand about the mechanics of how things have been done, the better situated you are to prescribe how things get done now. So I want you to have that knowledge, and that's why I don't just blindly multiple choice those things. And then like the Boxer Rebellion, they did not want Western influence. So many of you had Western, but it wasn't capitalized. So it counted it wrong. So that's a plug for closely reading the text and capitalizing what's capitalized in the text. But also, just always know, I'm always going to go back through. I'm always going to give you credit. All right, with that being said, week 6. So you're going to read chapter 21. Read it closely. Maybe take some notes on it. Then you're going to answer questions 1 through 5 at the end. I know, snooze, but they're really good questions. Also, when you look at the League of Nations, just kind of keep in the back of your mind the United Nations, because President Wilson had a brilliant idea at the end of World War I. And many of his ideas, he had 14 ideas, and he had a 14-point speech at the end of World War I. And remember, World War I was the Great War, because we thought there would only be one at that time. Nobody conceptualized that this would ever happen again. but shortly. And because of the mishandling of the end of World War I, that Treaty of Versailles, and the failure of the United States to join their own president's League of Nations idea, the Senate would not vote to join. Because of that, it's really thought to have set the stage for World War II. So keep that in mind as you're going through this part. But in 1914, we see construction of the Panama Canal. Often, the Panama Canal is still in the news. It's very important. We've taken military action down there. Why? So I want you to learn about the Panama Canal. So you're going to answer recall and reflect questions 1 through 5 at the end of the chapter with at least 3 complete sentences. And then I have linked an encyclopedia article about the Panama Canal. It's not very long. And I just want you to answer some questions on the Panama Canal. You can look these up other places, but give credit where credit's due. Give credit to where you find them. All right, so, and that can just be, you can even copy and paste the URL for where you find it if you don't like the Britannica article. But the Britannica article is kind of cool because it has pictures. And I like to see that. I've never been there. I don't know what it looks like. So the pictures are kind of fun. All right, reach out with questions and have a great week.